Five, four, three, two, one. Welcome to Speak the Truth. I'm Gary Johnson, the founder of BlackMenInAmerica.com. Today is Sunday, January 30th, 2022. We're going to get right to it. Got a jam-packed show today with our host, Mr. Harold Bell, DC sports legend icon. There you go, Mr. B.
Thank you, Gary. It's been a tough 2 years for all of us, man. It really has. It's been, it's been one thing after another. We finally got rid of what we thought was wrong with us and Donald Trump. And were we in for a surprise? This pandemic has, we have lost loved ones, friends, family. And this brings me to this past week. I have used celebrating 50 years of Inside Sports. I have used for my barometers is the people around me. That's how that's how I find out if I'm still on the right track. I listen to the people around me, and two of those people that I could, have faith in, that was going to tell me like it was, wasn't going to be beating around the bush. I lost two of those guys this week. The first one was a radio legend in this town on WHUR radio, Joe Gorham, spent 18 years at WHUR. And the thing about Joe, man, I had some problems with folks up at WHUR, but Joe never let that bother him. He always see me say, there goes the legend, there goes the legend. But I was telling Mom, you never could tell whether Joe was being sarcastic or not, So now about 2 years ago, we're at the Renaissance Hotel downtown. They're doing a tribute to Sylvia Morrison, the comedian, right? And Monique was in town. It was a big deal, man. So I carry Hattie down there, and I'm sitting outside because the reception they're having is too crowded for me. So I come outside and I'm sitting in the windowsill. So who comes out the door but Joe Gorham? He said, uh-oh, there goes the legend. So I said, oh, Harold, don't go nowhere. Stay right there. I got somebody I want to introduce you to. So he goes back into the room, and who he brings out? Marc Clarke. He said, Marc, I want you to meet the real legend, the real deal. And Marc and I hooked up, man. And I tell you, man, it's been fantastic. And we got together and kept it real. I think, Gary, you met him at the Miracle Theater. He and Allison had me and Hattie on WHUR radio, which was a no-no. Anyway, we had a great time, man. So now, Marc, he moves on. He and Allison, they move on from WHUR. And where does Marc end up? He ends up at TV9, WSA Today. Now, all of you are aware of my Muhammad Ali piece, right? But, a lot of folks have tried to make like, me and Muhammad Ali never existed. And I did, of course, that interview. I was the only one he called when he got back from Zaire after knocking out George Foreman. He had promised me when he left Chicago, because I refused to go to Zaire with him because I was scared to fly across the ocean. So he made fun of me, but on the way to go to the airport, he came up and whispered in my ear, Harold, since you're scared to fly across the water, he said, when I get back, you'll be the first one to interview me. Of course, I ain't paying no attention to him. We always talking crazy, So I came on back to DC and, of course, went down to see it on closed circuit. And 5 nights later, after he knocked out George Foreman, he calls me almost around 10, 11 o'clock, raining like hell outside. And I'm laying there sleeping good, boy. You know how you sleep in the rain? And the phone was ringing. And so Hattie hunched me, said, phone, get the phone. And of course, I picked up the phone. And the first voice I heard was say, let me speak to Harold Bell. I said, man, who's calling? I'm still sleeping. Let me speak to Harold Bell. I said, man, who is this? Fool, this is the heavyweight champion of the world, Muhammad Ali. I sat up straight in the bed. I thought I was dreaming, having a nightmare. And of course, there was the champ. Now, I've had that interview since 1974. Has appeared on television once on NBC affiliate WRC TV 4 in 1975, November 1975. So now, here it is 47 years later, and Mark and I talked. Mark said, man, we need to do something on Muhammad Ali. The anniversary is coming up on the 30th of October. I said, okay, let's do something. And that is how the Muhammad Ali piece appeared on WUSA on the 30th of October because of Joe Gorham's dear friend, now my friend, Marc Clarke. So Joe was still helping people, man, even though he had retired from WHUR. You know, he was still reaching out and helping people. And I am one of the best examples of that. You know, Joe was flawed like all of us, you know, but he was he had integrity. If he gave you his word, it meant something. And Joe, of course, doing what he liked to do, you know, flying out all over the place, going to party here and a party over there. And Joe lost his life on Sunday, man, and it really hurt me. You tell me something hitting home, that really hurt, man. First thing I did was call Mark. I couldn't catch up with Mark. I got to call Mark. But we lost Joe Gorham, man, and a beautiful brother, man, for 18 years at WHUR, but for life, a native Washingtonian who was continually to reach out to all of us. Gary, could we play that tribute to Joe from WHUR?
Which was...
Good evening. This is a special edition of the Daily Drum. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow. We're going to hear from the many voices on and off the air that made WHUR 50 years strong. Let's talk about the guys and, you know, the people, that is, who really helped shape the distinctive sound over the years. He was also not just an on-air personality, he was also, among other things, the music director for WHUR World, Joe Gorham. Hey, Joe.
Hey, man.
Thanks for coming in. Your favorite memory while you were here?
My favorite memory while I was here was almost at the end of my career.
Oh.
Jim Watkins asked me to build a HD2 hybrid digital radio program. He gave me that task, and when he gave me that task, obviously I must have completed it long before he thought I actually would, with the help of a whole bunch of people, including Sean. And then he sprung the network stations on me with Sirius XM 141 and 142. That was my best memory. that will be my best memory, because nobody has done what Sean and I did to put together a radio network.
Yeah.
Nobody.
That was part of the transition from radio station to network.
Oh, absolutely, and that was Jim's vision, to be able to do that. And what it did was when we started WHUR World, it really set the template for what became Sirius XM 141 and Sirius XM 142. I mean, what local radio station operates two national brands on Sirius XM? And that's a part of what we do here, where the brand is not just in Washington, D.C., it's really worldwide.
Yeah. Thank you, Joe, so much for that.
How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times that made us laugh, our ways and bad. I thought we get to see tomorrow, but forever's gone away. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. I don't know where this road is going to lead, and I'll take with me the memories to be my sunshine after the rain. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday.
To Mark, and Mark, tell us about Joe Gorham and your relationship with Joe and the kind of real human being that he was.
I think, yeah, Harold, I think about, like you said, the funny thing about Joe was, I think because Joe was so cool, and when I say cool, what I mean is, Joe from a generation, like you said, Harold, hey, parties, women, life, living life, Joe was all in, right? And so because of that spirit, I think, like you said, how we met each other was a great reminder of who he really was, and so here I was, new to HUR, Allison, of course, being a part of DC's history and being a part of it. I really, as a radio guy, I was from Baltimore, so I wasn't plugged into DC, and I'm at HUR, I'm at this great event. But like you said, Harold, he told you to stay there, he told me to stay there. He said, hold up, there's somebody, Mark, it's important for you to meet. He said the same thing to you. And so he introduced us to each other. And I think that does say a lot about who Joe is, because Joe did come from a generation, especially in media, just like you, Harold, where y'all actually knew the real people, the Frankie Beverleys, the people who were the people. They were our stars, our heroes. You guys came from a generation where you had personal relationships with them. And he had those relationships with everybody in the music industry, everybody in DC. And Joe was the guy, like you said, when you see him at the comedy club, he's going to be in the back talking with the comedians, chopping it up, having a good time. Anything to do with DC, from events to whatever, he knew the people who did it because he grew up here. And I think, yeah, man, he was definitely that connection. He was a genuine guy. He got a chance to live life, much like you, Harold, on his own terms, bold enough to do that. He didn't give a damn about what other people thought. HUR, he was over they had an HD channel which kind of represented the old HUR. And you guys remember, being from DC, what HUR, what really it represented, was innovative. It was music. It was, you're going to get the album cut. HUR, people from DC, I'm from the Midwest, but people from DC, I tell Allison all the time, y'all grew up hearing album cuts from Phyllis Hyman. Y'all grew up hearing stuff that people in other places just didn't hear, because, that's what HUR was. You can't really separate what WHUR is in concept from Joe Gorham. You just can't, right? And especially like the heyday of HUR and what it meant to not only DC, but what it meant to the world. And so, like I said, that moment though, Harold, I think was a prime example of who he was, and that for whatever reason, I think he knew that we were going to hit it off. He also knew that it was important that I understood what DC was about, and Harold Bell is going to be the guy that shows you that. And so, yeah, man, I'm with you. I had to laugh, not laugh, but when I saw you calling me, I knew what you were calling about. So, you know how it always happens when somebody passes away these days. Your phone, or it used to be a beeper, now it's the phone. I was out of town. So it first started with Wayne Bruce from Spur of the Moment. He texted me the previous evening and said, give me a call if you have, give me a call if you have time. He had just got it. So then I was on the plane and I saw Harold calling me. And so I hadn't talked to either one of you, but I had heard about it. And I said, I knew what Harold was calling about. And so Harold, I didn't actually get a chance to talk to you for like a day and a half later. But yeah, that's what Joe Gorham was for me, you know.
Jacques?
Yes, I want to say I had the pleasure of seeing Joe Gorham several times the past couple of years down at Bowie Town Center. There's a guy named Brett Murray that gives a big function down every year. Joe Gorham is first cousins to a guy named Michael Mosby, who's well known in the music business, who plays keyboards with a lot of different famous musicians all around the world, but mainly local here now. And I would also see Joe Gorham up at Mike Mosby's ranch. It's almost like a ranch out here in Silver Spring. And just real nice guy, down to earth, just like you said, laid back kind of dude, now. But him and I, we would laugh about, some of the times of, when we were both, a little younger and down at the Fox Trap. We actually conversated about that. And of course, Bill Lindsay, I met him 1 or 2 times. I was just telling Gary, when I used to go down to Fox Trap, I ain't have any money. But I had them little cheap suits from Sims and Hall Brothers, and I'd walk in there, and because I was light-skinned, they thought I had money, man. And I played the role like I had money. I'm down there drinking, the cheapest wine they had on the menu at Foxtrot. But I would take all night long to drink that little teeny wine of glass, man, to make it look like I had something. But not getting off the track. But Joe Gorham, just down-to-earth dude, man, very kind of unassuming. I guess maybe now, because he had gotten older in age, but I saw him as recently as about probably 4 or 5 months ago. And I saw him probably at least 7 or 8 times in the past couple of years, And again, very nice guy. Him and Bill, I didn't know Bill Lindsay well. I had only met him a few times, but Joe Gorham was just a real nice guy. And I was down at the tribute, Sylvia Traymore tribute. I was inside the auditorium, and I did go into that little teeny room because I was determined to get my picture with Miss Monique, and I did. And I got a picture with Mark. And Mark didn't punch me in the jaw that day for telling him how fine his wife was, because I know he hear it all the time. He used to it, right, Mark?
That's right. I remember you was clean too. You upgraded them cheap suits. That wasn't a cheap suit you had on that night.
Yeah, I upgraded a little bit, man.
And Harold, let's just say this: Jock has been taking care of this light skin thing his whole life. He's been using it, hopefully for good, his whole life.
I have. I married me a nice brown skinned woman. 32 years, man. We've been together, married.
Okay, Gary.
Hey, look, I was from being a native Washingtonian. I was familiar with Joe Gorham. And I think what really, to add to what you all have said, why don't I play WHUR's tribute to him, so we can do it that way. Let's look at it, and because this says it all.
Good evening. This is a special edition of the Daily Drum. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow. We're going to hear from the many voices on and off the air that made WHUR 50 years strong. Let's talk about the guys and the people, that is, who really helped shape the distinctive sound over the years. He was also not just an on-air personality, he was also, among other things, the music director for WHUR World, Joe Gorham. Hey, Joe.
Hey, man.
Thanks for coming in. Your favorite memory while you were here?
My favorite memory while I was here was almost at the end of my career.
Oh.
Jim Watkins asked me to build a HD2 hybrid digital radio program. He gave me that task, and when he gave me that task, obviously I must have completed it long before he thought I actually would, and with the help of a whole bunch of people, including Sean. And then he sprung the network stations on me with Sirius XM 141 and 142. That was my best memory. That will be my best memory, because nobody has done what Sean and I did to put together a radio network.
Yeah.
Nobody.
That was part of the transition from radio station to network.
Oh, absolutely. And and that was Jim's vision, to be able to do that. And what it did was when we started WHUR World, it really set the template for what became Sirius XM 141 and Sirius XM 142. I mean, what local radio station operates two national brands on Sirius XM? And that's a part of what we do here, where the brand is not just the Washington D.C. It's really worldwide.
Yeah. Thank you, Joe, so much for that.
How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times that made us laugh, our ways and bad. I thought we get to see tomorrow, but forever's gone away. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. I don't know where this road is going to lead, and I'll take with me the memories to be my sunshine after the rain. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday.
Wow. Harold and that team, they really put something together there. That was really, really nice. And when you see some of the people in those photos, that young Phyllis Hyman, all the way up to Mesa, going back, I mean, Will Downing, I mean, the photos say it all.
Yeah. Hey, man, rest in peace, Joe. I want to move on to next to my dear friend Melvin Bill. I want to call him Melvin Lindsay. I want to say Bill Lindsay, a dear friend. Been knowing, he was younger than I. Came out of Spingarn. We both were alumnus of Spingarn. And when Bill found the Foxtrot, you know, I was already a man about town. And Bill, being from Spingarn and a native Washingtonian, you know, we were already up close and tight, you know, but he had a couple of other, bourgeois guys in the club with him that was partners, you know. And Bill know I didn't play that whole bourgeois stuff. So he always say, look, Harold, anything that you want to do, you know, come to me and let me see if I got the date. You ain't got to go through nobody else. And the Foxtrot, man, was the place to be in Washington, D.C. when people came from all over the world, man. Everybody wanted to go to the Foxtrot. So, man, I used to have my celebrity fashion shows down there with Earl Monroe, Sugar Ray Leonard, Roy Jefferson, George Knox, you name them, man. They were in my fashion show. James Brown, all of them. They wanted to be a part of my celebrity fashion show. So all they had to do was tell Bill, hey, I want to do the fashion show. Okay, let me see if I, Christmas toy parties. Oh, man, all the judges came out, Luke Moore, Harry T. Alexander, Henry Kennedy, all of them, Maureen Bunn, you name it, they were there, man. And Melvin, that was because of Melvin. Melvin reached back into the community through me, you know. What went on down there in the Foxtrot involved the community, I was usually the one that brought the folks in there. 90% of the people that came through there, the celebrities, the pro athletes, they came through there because of inside sports and kids in trouble, man. So that was the thing. And then when when Bill left the Foxtrot, him and his wife got a restaurant downtown called Mingles. And so I approached Bill. I said, Bill, you know what we ought to do, man? As successful as we've been, man, we know what we ought to do. We need to honor our teachers at Spingarn. He said, let's do it, man. Let's do it. So we were the first one. I was the first one to honor a whole faculty at Spingarn, people that were responsible for our success. We had the principal come out, the officer Dixon who used to chase us around the building, with the janitors come out. Dave Ben came in from Detroit, and man, Bill put that thing on, man. It was beautiful, but that was the kind of guy that he was, man. He was first class, man. He wasn't all sure, you know. And Gary, do we have some pictures of photos of Bill at Coach Dave Brown's retirement? Did you get those photos up? I can't hear you, Gary. You on mute. Gary's on.
Yeah, you sent me a bunch of those photos. This is what, Dave Brown?
Dave Brown, yeah. Bill is there making a presentation. Bill was an outstanding student athlete at Spingarn in track and field, so that's what made us close too. We had those things going on, not only being native Washingtonians, but both being athletes. I don't know if Gary.
Is this the one?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's Mayor Washington. That's my coach Dave Brown on the right, and Mayor Washington's wife. I think that's Mayor Washington making the Dave Brown Day. And I think if Gary see those other photos that I sent, that Bill is doing a presentation to Coach Brown on that particular day. Now that's hard T. Now,
yeah,
anyway, that's okay. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But Bill was responsible for being a part of that too. And that picture right there that you see there is what George Knock, we were able to present to Coach Brown as a part of his retirement, and Bill made the presentation of that particular picture right there. There's Bill right there standing in the middle. That's Bill Lindsay right there. And we're presenting that picture from George Knock, who passed this year too, man. Another great brother, man. But Bill was out there, man. He was good people, man, that never pretended, man, and a guy of integrity, and always dealt with you, looking you in the eye. So he's going to be missed, man. And I had, you know, just it was a tough week, man. It really was to lose Joe, and then you lose Bill 3 days later. It was tough, man. So I just want to say, man, that man, it's guys like that are gone too soon, man. You know, gone too soon. So I just want to pay tribute today. I want to thank Mark, and of course Jacques, and of course Gary. And we're gonna move on with the rest of the show. I want to bring in Michael when he comes back, because this is, all of us can talk about this, what is going on around our communities and around the world. As you know, we got a new governor in Virginia, Youngkin. And man, he is coming in to bring the old South back, to make America great again, as Donald Trump said. You know, here's a guy that's coming in, man, and saying that he wants the parents to be a part of their kids' curriculum in the schools. And what he's really saying, he doesn't want critical race theory discussed in the schools. He don't want our history. You know, they're always talking about us playing the race card, right? Nobody plays the race card better than them. And this is the race card out in Virginia. And he has lieutenant governor is a Black female. I don't know what that is going to get us. Is it going to get us Kamala Harris or what? But that's what's happening out in Virginia. And I wanted to talk about that today, because all this revolves around what's happened with COVID-19. The kids are rebelling. Kids are walking out of schools saying this is not safe. Jacques, you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I strongly feel that Youngkin, not only is he bringing back, he has brought back racism to the front core. He's sent his kids to private schools in Washington, D.C., no less. Of course, he sent them up in the upper Northwest, you know, where you know, those schools are majority white, which is, you know, I don't have a big problem with that, because I understand, you know, if you can afford to send your kids to a good private school, why not? But at the same time, this lieutenant governor that he has, she seems, on the one hand, she seems to be kind of strong. On the other hand, she seems like a whack job. posing with two great big guns, on the front cover of a magazine prior to her during her candidacy for lieutenant governor. And I do think that it's wrong that what he's doing with the mask guidelines, a mandate that he instituted, and which is the reason why certainly all the counties that are close in the DMV, Northern Virginia, are fighting that because they know that he's wrong. He knows he's wrong, but again, because this guy has so much money, I think some of these people, have that old, proverb in their mind that their stuff just don't stink. So that's my feeling.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Mark, you got to add to that? You want to add to that?
Yeah, it's I'm just so sick and tired when I say this, I have to include myself in it because I think the question that Black folks have to ask themselves is, what are you really doing? What are you doing? I think Harold, you actually, you laid your career out there. There's very few people, Black folks, who sacrificed their career or laid out their career, spoke truth. Just very few, right? And so in this situation, the part that I'm realizing at 55 is that how we don't have any organizations that have any teeth. Number one, no teeth at all. No organization has any teeth. We have no leadership, no people in positions like you said with this Lieutenant Governor Winsome, or whatever her name is. She is a pawn. She is a pawn. She's allowing herself to be used as a pawn. She's standing next to, like you said, Harold, somebody who wants to usher in, slavery, and she ain't saying a damn thing. She has people who, like you said, we walk around eggshells. Nobody ever is honest to say she is getting, I don't know how much she's getting paid. I don't know what her motivation is, but to allow yourself to be used in a pawn at this critical point in our nation's history is outrageous and ridiculous. And I'm not going to stand by and let that happen. You don't hear anybody say that. You hear some people rally around her, some Black women rally around her, some people from Jamaica rally around her and say, blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, the jig is up, and this governor is playing, the play is called, and the Republicans are, we remember George Will's ass decides to step away from the Republican Party. Then when George Will steps away from it, then that's a sign, right? This is not even the Republican Party that we knew with Reagan. We didn't, this is a whole different other thing. This is going back, like you said here, this is back to slavery, right? And so any Black person that's, getting a check and saying the talking points or allowing them to say the talking points and not even say anything, then they're a part of it. Armstrong Williams, we know he's a sellout. He's been taking checks for years, and Armstrong, at least we know his game. We know he goes to the highest bidder. Right. I don't mind that as much. But a sister like this is diabolical because she's standing there next to him as he is playing this game that, I talked to, and this game is the game is in full tilt, man. And somebody has to say something. The only person I think that's really saying something is Bishop Barber, as far as talking truth. He's Bishop Barber's the only one talk, because I get it now. I understand this whole poor, because the irony of it is it's not just Black folks, it's poor white folks, because they're voting against their own best interests in these red states. And the system knows this, and they push the racism, because if they woke up one day and decided to vote with their own the interests, then that block can get this whole group of people out of there. And so that's why they turn up the racism stuff, because it strokes the division, And so it's just very disheartening, and it's just really sad to realize from the Greek organizations to the black organizations, there's no teeth. And what's the point of having an organization if your organization don't have money and don't have political power? Then what's the purpose of the organization? And I think when you look around, that's the thing with Black folks. Organizations is just spinning our wheels. They have no purpose. Or somebody's getting paid. That's the other part. Somebody's getting paid. So somebody's getting paid, you're just spinning your wheels, or you're just being a pawn. Other than that, why have an organization? So,
Gary?
Well, she's clearly on the Tim Scott bandwagon.
Oh,
so
Tim Scott.
Yeah, on his bandwagon, and there are others.
Yeah.
And like Mark said, I don't know how they sleep at night, but they get paid. And this is why voting in local politics is more important than national, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of how it affects us.
Yeah.
Because critical race theory is a trigger word and phrase. And in some cases, it's not even being taught, or no one has even raised the issue.
That's right.
It's not even raised the issue. But they know this will rally and get people galvanized, because you don't want to be anything that's pro-Black or pro this. So that just keeps, like Mark said, it keeps us divided. But the Tim Scotts, they can always find somebody that they can push out there. And I don't even think they're that bright to even take the money, take the big money. They just go on out there and just take whatever they give them. Mm-hmm. So, and they think, well, I'm different. You know, you can't squash my individuality. Man, my mama always told me to think. And if you had any kind of sense, you thought about the impact that this was having on people, not just Black people, but just poor people. It just, I'm like Mark, I'm done.
Yeah. Well,
Harold, I will confess though, when I got the TV job, this radical Marc Clarke you saw was nowhere to be seen. Oh, I'm gonna get Harold. I'm gonna get Harold on. I'm gonna get Dr. Rabowski on. I'm gonna get these people. I'm gonna get my people on. But you ain't seeing no radical posts on Facebook. Marc Clarke ain't saying nothing. And so that's what I'm saying. I can't really be that critical, because I'm a part of the problem. You know, I'm up for another TV job. And Allison's like, what you doing? She hears me down in this basement yelling and stuff. She's like, ain't you up for this job? I'm like, yes, I am. And so and that's the thing I realized, that the system's amazing. The system is a monster, baby. And they have this thing down, and they put you in a position, you know, just like I was thinking, if you are an elected official, this is what I get. If you're a Black elected official and this job pays you more than you've ever made in your life, that's a terrible recipe. Because you'll be swayed by $10,000. And that's why Trump was so powerful, because he saw these politicians for what they were. And what are they? They are all snakes. Because if you got your own money, it's different. Like the ones who are in it for power, they're different than the ones who are in it for money. You know, the ones in it for money, they'll sell their kids for $10,000 cancer. They'll sell them down the road. Now, a guy that comes and he's a professional, he's a lawyer, he's an engineer, he's got his own business, he's there for different reasons. So, you know what I mean? But if you're a Black politician and this is the biggest job you ever had, I don't think we need to elect you. I think we need to elect somebody who already got money, because once you get the position, you ain't gonna do nothing, because the money is more than you've ever had in your life.
Yeah, money is gonna dictate. And that's one of the things I want to bring up about this, the Black athlete. I got to take my hat off to a young man that I just found out that was my cousin a couple of years ago, Donovan Mitchell. And Donovan Mitchell did, and people always told me, Harold, you should have waited and got the money, man. Get the money first. And I understand what folks are talking about. Donovan Mitchell has stood up to be a man among boys. You understand what I'm saying? Donovan Mitchell signed an extension with the Utah Jazz 5 years for $195 million. Well, guess what? Right after that, you know what he did? The legislature in Utah came out with this critical race theory, banning it from the public schools in Utah. And guess what Donovan Mitchell? He jumped out there and said, oh no, that ain't happening on my watch, and got him defeated. In the he got him defeated, man. So that's what I'm talking about, man. A guy standing out there and don't realize what the real game is. Donovan understands the real game, man. I already got my money, so why not help my people now? And that's what he did. So I got nothing but much respect for this young brother, man, and I hope that he gets others to join him. Now, I had a recent conversation with this guy, administrator at the NBA, about the racism that exists with the Washington Wizards. Has always been there when they were out in Orlando, when they were Washington Bullets. I'm the one that integrated the press table out there with a white friend of mine by the name of Frank Pastor. We were standing up at the top at halftime and we were looking down on the court. And Frank said, Harold, is this a coincidence that they got all the white guys on the left side of the half court and all the black guys on the right side? I said, wow. So when we got down, guess what we did? We switched seats. We integrated the Bullets press table. I don't think they've ever forgotten that. So every time they get a chance to do something negative against me, which I stand up when they do it, you understand? They do it. And last time here, they denied me press credentials to the floor to catch up with Donovan Mitchell. You know, that's how petty they were. They're talking about, well, you know, the pandemic, and I'm looking at these people down. I am the senior guy when it comes to covering the Washington Wizards, but they find a way to try to keep us out. So I wrote a letter to NBA Commissioner Adam Silver and telling him what was happening, man. So he had his guy, Vice President Tim Frank, call me and say, Harold, when can I talk to? When can we talk? But the thing about that conversation, you know what Tim Frank said? He said, man, I think it's gonna be all right about the credentials and everything, Harold, but it'll be all right when we get back to normal. Once we get this pandemic out of the way, I said, hold it, man. Your normal is not my normal. Your normal is not no black man in America's normal. When they go back to normal, they're going back to being the way that they are. You understand? So when they come with you, you know, and that's what I like about my friend Brian McIntyre, who was the vice president of the NBA media relations. He was always straight up with me because I was coming straight at him. He helped a lot of young folks, especially those folks at the Round Ball Report with Andrew Dyer, get credentials to go to the NBA All-Star game, get credentials to go to the Wizards game. So there are some good people, but man, we cannot let them allow us to just go for anything. And that's exactly what they're doing. I want to bring Michael in. Michael, we're talking about the critical race theory and how Young in Virginia is trying to take us back to 1800s because he's saying that he wants the parents to be involved in the curriculum that's being taught in the Virginia schools, and that's critical race theory. Well, how do you feel about that? Him, you know, just go say you can't teach nothing in Black history. And plus, he don't put up a hotline for teachers to call to snitch on other teachers if they're teaching Black history. How you feel about that, Michael?
Yeah, they're trying to pass something in Alabama on that. I'm trying to think, did it just pass? But anyway, that you can't teach the critical race theory in the classroom. And, you know, our superintendent was saying, look, they're not teaching that anyway. All they're doing is teaching the regular history stuff, but it involves Blacks. And, you know, I was at a superintendent meeting and this came up, and everybody was in agreement that they are going to pass something on that because for Republicans, that's good politics, they think. And so, but we got that going on in Alabama and probably every southern state, and maybe even some northern state, but every southern state around where if you can't talk about nothing else, you throw that in because that guy in Virginia won. And I don't know how that, what's his name that was
Young
running for, yeah, I don't know how he allowed himself to get caught up in saying that parents shouldn't be involved in the kid curriculum. You know, if you say something like that, people can twist that every which way. Of course, parents need to be involved in the curriculum. That's why you have PTO meetings and that type of thing. So he never should have gotten caught up in that. We got to be more clever on how we deal with folks that can twist up what you say. You know, you just can't play in the folks' hands. You got to be more clever on what your response is going to be.
Michael, I was, while we got you here as an attorney, a district attorney, I was watching a piece on TV today. It was DA in Philly, how this white boy came in and trying to clean up the police department, you know, all this with the FOP, the same old thing that's going on, and he's catching hell. And I'm thinking about, you know, this guy, he's been around for a long time, but He went back and found all these files, man, where they have covered up all this police racism and brutality from years back, man. So now he's got to come in and try to clean that up, man. And that's going to be very difficult, don't you think, Michael?
Well, this is the problem, because the guy in Los Angeles catching it too, and some others. This is the problem. Right now, the violent crime is going up. So people don't really want to hear about things like defunding the police or, you know, being for somebody to appear to be soft on crime and that type of thing. Because unfortunately, the criminal, you can have all the reforms in the world, but the criminals are not going to stop doing what they're doing. So it had to be a balance. And if you put the wrong message out there, just like the New York district attorney, he catching it from all ends. He catching it so much that he had to hire some specialists on gun prosecution to backtrack on what he said about not prosecuting folks that get caught with illegal guns up in New York. He had to backtrack on that to say, look, y'all misunderstood me. I'm going to prosecute folks that have illegal guns and that type of thing. Because you remember New York at the place where that football player who had just won the Super Bowl got that gun fell out of his pocket up in New York at a club. And pretty much that messed up his career because the mayor at the time, Bloomberg, he took a hard line on that case. And
that was Plexico Birds. Plexico Birds.
Yeah, Plexico Birds. That's right.
When this district attorney in New York, this first black district attorney up there in Manhattan, started talking about he gonna reform the police, he gonna reform prosecution, he gonna reform everybody. The new police chief, a black female, attacked him, saying, hey, we can't have this up here. Folk getting killed, people getting thrown off the subway, all kinds of stuff. So my point is that I try to be a moderate on stuff because the answer is usually in the middle somewhere. Sometimes you take a position on the right, sometimes you take a position on the left, but if you go too far left, folk can take your message and spin it every which way, that you cutting every murderer, rapist, and everybody loose. And that's not a perception you want to have at district attorney.
Right.
My issue is, I think, like you said, the problem is the system. It doesn't, like you say, what you say is important, but what you say isn't important. I think it's like the machine, like you said, takes your words and makes it what they want the words to be, right? The thing that I'm amazed by is how we don't have anybody that asks the real questions, the most important questions, right? So when I was in New York, Harold, I was there and I had this Sunday show and I interviewed, I can't think of his name. Oh my God, it slips my mind, but he was, I don't know if it was a prosecutor or I forgot his role, right? But it was a Sunday morning talk show. And we just mentioned New York and the guns. So the newly elected official talked about guns and getting these guns off the streets, right? And everybody talks about getting these guns off the street, right? But when I interviewed this brother who died of cancer in his 40s, and I cannot think of his name, I wish I could, he said something to me that I never heard about and never gets talked about when you talk about guns in inner cities, right? He talked about the Southern gun sellers, the network of gun trade that goes into major cities. This is those guys, this is the same, usually the same guys who do the gun shows. It's a whole system that supplies guns to the inner city, right? And that's what you have to cut off. But when we talk about guns, it's always the gun pro, all that stuff we talk about, that ain't, that's not the real problem. Making harsher gun laws for the guy who has the gun, that's not the problem. Where he get the gun from? Where did he get the new AKA with the new clip that it's new technology? Where is this coming from? Nobody ever talks about that. So when I interviewed him, I was so excited because he was making major progress in New York. And then of course, he mysteriously dies of cancer in his early 40s. You know what I mean? And so these are the kind of questions we start, and we beat around the bush when we talk about guns and where do they get the guns. We're saying in the barbershop, well, who's getting the gun? We don't ever dig deep into that. Where do the guns come from? What is the system that supplies guns to major cities? These ain't no old guns. These are new technology guns. Where are they coming from? They're not going to gun shows in Virginia and buying guns. So where are they getting them? And where's our leadership in having a conversation about that? And so then, like you said, all we're left with is politicians say something and it gets taken out of context and spent. Like when your man in New Virginia said that about the parents, what he should have did was, instead of running from what you said, explain what you say. I don't think parents should have a conversation about curriculum because they never have. They never have. This is how curriculum comes to schools. So this is what blah, 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 blah. You know, that's what I'm saying. This is what needs to happen. We are talking points. And again, the Republicans are great at taking talking points and spinning it forever. You know, critical race theory is not taught in high school. Oh, facts. Okay, nobody says that though. They'd be like, I don't know, I think da-da-da. What exactly is it? Can you imagine if somebody said, look, I think we need to take the Holocaust out of schools?
Yeah. Right.
What would happen? What would happen? First of all, like I said, because they have organizations that have teeth, oh, these schools would be on fire, okay? Are you freaking kidding me? Say that we're gonna take the Holocaust out of schools, but say you're gonna take Black history out of schools, and ain't nobody doing nothing. Where's the outrage? Where's the organizations? Where's the NAACP? And there's nothing. Nothing happens. We have nobody who polices this kind of stuff for us, because the critical race theory is not even a real conversation.
Nope.
But that's the frustration. And like you said, you got to be careful what you say, because if you say it that really should be put to rest. But the problem is we don't have media outlets that have real conversation. We don't have real leadership who know how to ask the right question. I mean, once you take away Eric Michael Dyson and Al Sharpton off the show circuit, we're left with Umar Johnson. we're left with sketchy niggas that we don't trust.
Yeah.
Being our voice. You know, it's like, what? You know, and then Al, you know, Al Sharpton comes from a generation that took the money. Harold knows, he was there. They saw what happens when you're real, they take you out. So they said, you know what? I'm just going to take this check and I'll just, you know, I'll say something, but I ain't really saying nothing. And then the academics, you know, Brother Dyson and you know, man, my man with the afro.
Cornell West.
Cornell, yes, great guys, great theory, great. But what we going to do though? That's the, yes, that's great explanation, but what are we going to do? What's the action? What's the activity we're going to do to make a difference? And I think sadly we don't really have any answers, you know. And again, I'm not excluding myself. I do the same thing. I make up great points, but Mark, what are you doing? What are you contributing? How much have you given to? How much time have you given to the system to create solutions? You know, I haven't given that much because I'm busy trying to get a check.
Mark, you know, that's a great point you made about take the Holocaust out of schools. That one right there, man, that's the best example I've heard, man, in a long time. You see what kind of reaction you get then. You understand? And while we on guns, we just had kids 13, 14, 15 years old have a shootout, the Wild Wild West on New York Avenue Northeast, man, just several days ago. And guess what? They released them. They back out to shoot again. They don't know what to do with the 13, 14, and 15-year-olds. Who has solutions, man? Those kids are back out doing the same thing. And on guns, they're coming up with the ghost gun. I know you guys heard about the ghost gun. Michael, are you familiar with the ghost gun? That these kids are going online and making their own guns. So yeah, those Southerners are bringing new guns in here, but our kids now going online and making their own guns. They found ghost guns involved in that shooting on New York Avenue, man. Ghost gun out Magruder High School where they shot a kid out there, a ghost gun. So man, our backs are up against the wall. I know we're getting kind of late to get out of here, but I want to, there's one thing that Garrett brought to my attention, I think, that Clarence Thomas, Supreme Court, right? His wife was the guest speaker at the Oak Keepers. These people who the Ku Klux Klan, she was the guest speaker at one of their affairs, man, several years ago. Here's a white woman sleeping with a black man who's the Supreme Court on the Supreme Court. We knew he was, well, I thought he was gonna change, and I was a damn fool for thinking that. But he still has not done absolutely nothing, man. So that is another one of those things where it's saying, this is us. And I want to ask Michael, are we headed for another war in the Ukraine? Are we headed for another war or what, man?
Well, I'm gonna say it like that. It depends. I think Biden has to almost act like we're gonna go to war with Russia, which we know we ain't, but he almost had to act like that for the Russians not to go and move in. Because there's no way they're gonna keep those troops just sitting there. You gotta feed and all this other stuff. So something gonna happen one way or the other in the next 3 months. Either they gonna stand down or they gonna move in.
Right. Well, we got the NFL playoffs, Super Bowl coming up. Super Bowl does not mean that black athletes are free. The NFL has one black head coach out of 32 teams. And somebody just brought to my attention, going into 2022, they done hired 5 white coaches, man. They done hired 5 white. Tomlin is the only black coach that we got. The only black coach. And somebody said, well, Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera is not black, folks. He is not black. Don't get that mixed up.
No.
Got one black coach, and they just hired 5 more white coaches, and they don't have any black owners, but they want to go to the Super Bowl and party and everything else. Man, what is going on? I'm gonna give everybody a minute to go on that. As we got San Francisco playing today, I think they're playing Cincinnati. I think LA is playing Kansas City. So that's what we've got going ahead to the Super Bowl. I want to go around and start with Jacques, give everybody a minute to address that situation with the NFL. And what pro sports are plantations. They are the last plantation. Jacques, come on, Jacques.
Y'all know I'm not a big sports guy, man. I was a player when I was in school, but I was a player with the ladies. But anyway, I do think it's wrong that they don't have more black coaches, especially behind the fact that my thought is that there's probably 56% of the players are in fact black. And the same thing with the college players, that they're making billions, but they don't want to play the athletes any money whatsoever, which is to me pure slavery, and it's the last bastion of slavery in sports regarding the college players, collegiate players, as well as the black coaches. And I hope that something is done about that.
Okay, Michael.
Well, I think a lot of this been going on for quite a while, because if y'all remember, Chicago Bears coach had taken them to the Super Bowl. This black guy, Lovie
Smith.
Lovie Smith, yeah.
He went 10-6, and they fired him. And then Caldwell, I think that's his name, that would play the Indianapolis coach.
Jim Caldwell.
Right.
I think he took them to the Super Bowl. And then he had some team that the referee made a weird call. They was about to win their playoff game. They were playing the Dallas Cowboys. The ref made some weird call, took back his penalty for interference or something. They lost the game. But this guy can't get a head coaching job. And then the Miami coach just was 8-9 his last 9 games. He was 8-9 and he got fired. So this has been going on for quite a while, and some of these white coaches have just lost a million games, and they keep getting recycled. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, Mark.
So again, when I get the TV job, y'all won't be having me on these shows. I'm gonna just be laughing like everybody else. But This is where I am. Harold, you're. I'm not saying your age, but I am 55, and I'm going to say this. Look,
young man.
The NFL owners, I got to give them credit because they are saying we ain't doing a damn thing. So I'm off the train. The whole why aren't they high? They ain't gonna do it because they ain't gonna do it. It's a good old boys club. We keeping it white. You Negroes, we pay you a couple $1 million. You don't do nothing. You don't work together. So we ain't got to do nothing because black folks ain't strong enough to make us change. So we ain't gonna change. And so all this little fake stuff we be doing, just like the other day when they summoned Roger Goodell and they said ain't gonna be no damn investigation. And of the Redskins right now, he was like, and he was, you could tell he's their puppet. They're the puppet master. He's the puppet. So yeah, man, I don't think nothing's gonna change. And until we got organizations that have power, it's just a conversation. That's right.
Well, let me go out here with this that Ben Roethlisberger, the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, has retired after 18 years, and they're talking about Tom Brady might follow him, but I doubt it seriously that Tom Brady follows him. They're talking about hiring coaches, and they're talking about, well, hey man, how about the brother with Tampa Bay, the quarterback coach? How about him going down to Jacksonville? Who wants to go to Who the hell wants to go to Jacksonville? Man, if I was him, if I was that brother, I'd stay right there as an assistant coach if that's the best they got for me in Jacksonville. You understand? That's what I would do. And they're talking, Bill Rhoden came out with this book called $40 Million Slaves, talking about the pro athlete, the black pro athlete. But what he forgot, the $40 million slave is those brothers in media. Media is where the slaves are really, Mark, I don't want you to comment on this. This is where the slaves are really in media. Only a church on Sunday morning is more segregated than a media press room at Deadline. See, so Bill Rhoden had a bestseller. I bet he scammed the whole people. So man, once again, man, thank everybody, Gary. I want you to take us out of here and hit us out of here with the tribute to Bill and Joe.
Well, I want to piggyback on what Mark said, and it also about a system. Whether it's politics, whether it's sports, every system has a need to replicate itself, and that's what it does. And so I don't care what the venue is, they're going to keep us out because they know we're not strong enough to stand up to change the system. And you can't change the system unless you get a seat at the table. So if they don't let you in, you can't get a seat at the table. They just don't let you in.
Yeah.
And the ones that we think we got going in get compromised. So, and then we get frustrated. So, I mean, I try to do the best I can. Could I do more? Probably yes. But given the time we have, some of the black folks that are in positions of power, their lesson is the same as the white folks, and they're quite happy with that.
But Gary, I want you to remember, man, though you may not think it, but speak the truth. People are hearing about it. And
well, that's true.
Yeah, they're hearing about it, buddy. And we may be a small entity, but man, you got to keep standing up, man. It's like AARP. What were they doing for senior citizens, Gary? They're allowing senior citizens to be scammed for $2 billion annually. And they got enrolled senior citizens. That's what they're supposed to be all about. But all of a sudden, Gary, after we came out with AARP asking them what they were doing. Guess what? We heard a commercial of AARP trying to protect senior citizens from scams on WHUR radio. It wasn't there until we put it out there. So Mike, I want to thank you, man, as a district attorney and head of your organization, president, man. Thank you for your input, man, and Jacques, you here on a regular basis. And Mark, we hope you get that job, man, because I understand 55 years old, you still got to have a job. Hey, man, I just want you all, as I go out here every Sunday with, that you cannot soar with eagles if you're hanging out with chickens. Peace.
Everybody be safe. I'm going to run this tribute again, Mr. Bell, but be safe, wear your mask, and do what you need to do.
How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times that made us laugh outweighed the bad. And I thought we'd get to see forever, but forever's gone away. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. And I don't know where this road is going to lead. And all I know is where we've been and what we've been through. And if we get to see tomorrow, I hope it's worth all the pain. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. And I'll take with me the memories to be my sunshine after the rain. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. And I'll take with me the memories to be my sunshine after the rain. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday.
All right. Be safe, everybody.
Bye-bye.